Hi guys, it's Nathan from Headbangers. Today we've got an episode that me and Brad were both very excited for. Today we've got Tomas from Bloodbath. Me and Brad personally have been massive fans of Bloodbath. I myself, since I saw him at Damnation 2017, and it's been great having Tomas on. We talk about death metal, we talk about all the items that he'd bring to the zombie apocalypse, and we just got, you know the rest, you know the formula, you've listened to us before, so check out the episode. Don't forget, we do have social media. You can find us on all social media platforms with Headbangers Podcast. Now, don't forget though, Twitter is different because for some reason someone had that username. So it's Headbangers Pod 1. We also have a Patreon. If you want to support the channel, that'd be appreciated. We also have merch. Don't forget that as well. So yeah, if you want some merch, drop us a message on Instagram. Without further ado, here's the episode. Welcome back to the Headbangers Podcast, where your hosts Nathan and Brad. Here today we're joined by Tomas from Bloodbath. How are you doing, man? Start off with.
I'm fine, thank you. How are you guys?
Yeah, doing really good.
Nice.
So, I'd like to start off with like a little icebreaker. Obviously, I know that you're not only a great member of Bloodbath, but you're also one of Lick too. So I imagine you've acquired some great tour stories after all this time. So what's your funniest gig or tour story out on the road?
I'm suck at being funny at gigs and stuff like that. But I don't have any. It's not much. Of course we drink beers and stuff like that. But there's nothing crazy really going on. We just want to play and then have a good time. So I'm guess I'm gonna disappoint you with not having any fun.
No, that's okay.
Nothing, and we're not that. We just we just like to hang out by ourselves, and talk, and especially for Bloodbath because we don't see each other that often. Nick lives in UK, and the other guys we live in Stockholm, and then we have Axis in like a 2 or 3 hour drive from Stockholm also. So we just want to hang out as a band, and talk.
I'm gonna say you guys are quite spread out, aren't you? So, and I suppose it's a testament to how good you guys play, though. So, it shows that you're not like sacrificing the playing for going out and partying. Like
no,
you're all very focused.
Not at all. No. Of course it could go. Of course it can get really late and stuff like that. But still, nothing crazy or nothing really funny and worth sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I want to dig into obviously the elephant in the room, which is how amazing Survival of the Sickest is. Like, obviously, I've been a fan of Bloodbath, and so has Nathan for so many years. And like, I don't know, this was just knocked nearly all the albums out the park, which is incredible for a band that has cemented themselves in death metal, but they can still come back and show like the younger bands like how it's done. So I want to ask like. So the last two albums of Bloodbath seems like to take a black and doom turn. Well, this one was like balls out death metal. What was the shift for that? Like, what made you guys decide to go for that? I know that you're a recent addition as well. So like, how did that all come about?
I'm not really sure since I wasn't really in the band, but I know I did live stuff with Bloodbath when they talked about they wanted this black thingy vibe, and I was like, okay, yeah, that can be cool, but and then I don't remember. I think they asked me to join, but I couldn't 100% focus on the band at that time because I was studying and stuff like that. So I was like, I really wanted them to have someone, to be 100% into the band and put time and effort into it. And then they did Arrow Satan is Drawn, and then all of a sudden they asked me again if I could do some live shows and stuff, and then also into the band. And then I think Anders mentioned sometime, they said that he wanted me to join the band, and if I was going to do it, maybe differentiate it a bit from Leak, we could we should do this Florida thing again, and it would be more no HM2, just pure Florida death metal and stuff like that. And it really spoke to me, because you can get those thrashy guitar thingies going on instead of lot of, I think you call it tremolo playing, as we do in the Swedish style. I'm not sure, but I guess it has something to do with it, and I know Anders said he wanted really to go back to the beginning of the band, where the Breeding Death EP, there was no HM2 pedal, not it had nothing to do with that. It just had to do with playing death metal. No, it was nothing else. It was just death metal, So I guess he wanted to go back to that state of the band, I don't know, the rawness, or I don't know. It was just going back to where it all started, I guess.
I think you guys achieved it, to be honest.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I really think so too. It's a killer album, really. I'm really proud of being in that in the band doing that. It was really cool. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely has such a Floridian sort of death metal vibe to it. As well, I just also want to ask you, what was it like sort of working with Barney from obviously Napalm Death? Obviously, because he features in one of your songs. What was it like working with him?
I wasn't that involved in that. I think it was. I think it was all the the part. His part was written. I think Nick wrote the lyrics for that part, and Nick also knows Barney, so Nick took care of that stuff. It wasn't really. I didn't have anything to do with that. But it was as soon as I heard it, when they said, "Oh, Barney's gonna do that part." Oh, okay, cool. And then as soon as I heard it, it was like, yeah, it's
phenomenal.
Perfect.
Really is.
So, yeah, Barney sounds fucking great on that part. It's so great.
Yeah, me and Nathan were talking about it, just like how they complement each other so well, like Nick and then Barney as well, like because they've both got two different kind of styles, but when you mash them together, like it works so well. And I was like, it's probably my favorite song on the album. It just absolutely slaps.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's also at the moment it is also my favorite song. It switches between between all the songs, but at the moment it's also my favorite song, so it's really cool.
Oh yeah, Barney's featuring that is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Like I was saying to Brad, like Barney's one of those very, very unique vocalists where you can tell it's him straight away. Like it's not like you have to go, oh, who featured on that? It's it. He's got such a genuine like aggression. It feels like as well when he does his vocals.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it definitely sounds. He has a unique sound. It's him when you hear him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I want to go into as well, like with the writing of the new album. So like, how did that sort of differ from what you was used to with Leak and like your previous experience with Bloodbath and everything like that?
It's not much really. It's two different kind of death metal styles that I know really well. So you would just we go in this direction. With Bloodbath, for example, it's this direction, and Leak is the other direction. So the only thing that I was like thinking about if I could pull it off with the guitar, playing. I wrote some stuff that I think it's hard to play because I like to compete with myself or whatever, It's and also that it comes out very much. It comes out. It's easier to hear everything because we got rid of the HM2 pedal. So in with the HM2 pedal, if you do stuff, that are you can't really hear it. But this time you can hear every note every note, but yeah, you know what I mean. You can hear it perfectly. Everything, and that that has that you have to pay even more attention to what you're playing. And I come from the music style that I like to play years ago was like thrashy death metal, with lots of stuff like that, going on. So this was perfect for me to take it back, get that things going again with the right hand thingy and downstrokes and everything. So
I was going to ask actually, like obviously you transitioned from lick. Like, do you feel like you bring a lot of that influence into Bloodbath? Because obviously with the guitar playing as well, like every Bloodbath album sort of shifts. So like I feel like there is some sort of like influence, I thought, in this when I was listening to Bloodbath, new album.
It might be. There's some riff. I think it's in Zombie Inferno, the chorus riff. It's Anders calls it the leak riff. But other than I think it's, for me it's totally different styles of music. So still it's like I don't really see it that way. But Anders goes, oh, that's a leak riff. So but I don't, maybe if also Leak had done an album quite recently, and now we're just only doing the Bloodbath thingy, so it was very simple to keep those parts, keep them apart. Maybe if we're going to we have to do albums exactly the same time, maybe it would have been harder. I don't know. But I don't know. There's some like Stockholm death metal things in there, but I'm not sure it has to do with Leak. But still, it's might be. I don't know. Yeah, but I don't know if I answered the question or.
No, that's up.
Oh yeah. So what was it like as well, jumping from doing an album with Lick and then jumping into doing Bloodbath? Could it have been like, was it a bit jarring, or was it just kind of like there was enough space in between both of them where you're like, oh, okay, I can settle in here fine?
It was enough space, and also like I said, two different styles of death metal. So it was like I felt like I had a lot of metal music still in me, writing. So there was no not really a problem with like writing the music and stuff like that. It was for two of the songs that I'm a part of, I wrote together with Jonas, and we were sitting at his place, and it was, he was programming drums on his computer, and I was like just riffing, and then I was like, oh, that's a cool riff. Yeah, let's put it in here, and then maybe so, okay, that's cool. Yes, and then all of a sudden we had like 3 songs, and then okay, we're cool. Yeah, so it was, yeah, there was a lot of, for one song was like Jonas, I came over to Jonas and was like, I think we should have like a D-side track, and then he showed me like in really early on YouTube, like a live show with D-side in the States. I don't know, somewhere really, really early, like somewhere it was like 3 lights on stage, on the guitarist, and I think Glenn had this armor on him, and the sound was like, it just sounded but you could tell what they wanted, and I was like, okay, yeah, I get some ideas. And then we went up to his little recording room, and then we just starting doing stuff. So yeah,
honestly, man, like the riffs on this, like probably some of the coolest death metal riffs I've heard in a long time. Like every song just has absolutely pummeling guitar playing all the way throughout. So I think you're definitely a great addition to the band. Like you brought like a whole new range to Bloodbath, even for a band that's so well established. So like I think I can speak for me and Nathan. Like, goddamn, it was just a headbang fest throughout.
Thank you so much. It's really cool to hear because
So, I want to talk about the concepts of the albums. Obviously, it reminds me of like the 80s style horror. So like, you went back to obviously that Floridian death metal style, but you also sort of encapsulated like the, I don't know, 80s, 90s graphic sort of, not cartoony horror, but you know what I mean? So like
sure,
what was the vibe with that then? So what were you trying to go for, and do you think it was achieved?
It was definitely achieved, I think. Maybe it was like a bit more, having, instead of being too serious, it was like a bit more having fun, like the Zombie Inferno shirt that came out with a red. There's a T-shirt that came with this song. I don't know. It's like a red, American muscle car driving through a horde of zombies.
Love it.
It's funny, and the video for Zombie Inferno also is, like it's comedy horror, or I don't know. It's like, for me, it's like just old horror. I like it when there is, it doesn't have to be like nowadays. It's just brutal, and then
like Evil Dead sort of thing vibes,
Yeah, and Evil Dead, it's like, it's fun too, It has to be for me to cope with all the fucking evil and shit, I think I have to have some humor in it as well to like laugh it off a bit, I like that kind of stuff, and that's what we wanted this time, and I think really we achieved it with all the, of course it's also serious serious death metal, so but the music is serious, but everything else is like we're we like having fun too.
I personally love it when bands do stuff like that, because it shows there's a different side to the band members. Because I think if people were serious all the time, it's one of those things like, geez, do you not see the joke? Like I like seeing when people go, hey, it's just something funny we thought of. There you go.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I like that too. When whenever you listen to something, it could be serious, and then you have to see the real, the real people behind it. Hey.
Oh yeah, it's like Black Dahlia was always really good at that as well. Where like in the music videos, like the music video wouldn't really go with the lyrics or anything like that, but it was just like, like that one where they're in the bowling alley. But you were like, I wasn't expecting this, but this is funny. Like it was just
why not?
Yeah, like it's just one of those things. It's like not a lot of people do it. I feel like there's a lot of bands that then that take themselves like very, very serious, and go, no, it has to be serious all the time. It's like when you see like bands come in and they're like, oh yeah, we just thought it'd be funny to do it. Like, I think it makes the fans enjoy it more, because like, I just can't believe they thought of
that. Yeah, sure. I guess it's also you can relate to it, because you can relate it to yourself, because I guess we're all humans, and I guess humans have to like to have fun.
Oh yeah. Definitely. One thing as well, I want to bust out like an old question that we tend to ask a lot of death metal artists and a lot of death metal bands, just simply because I like sort of hearing what their opinions are on it. Sure. I feel like we're in like a bit of a sort of new like golden age for death metal at the moment. There's so many bands just coming out the woodwork, doing an entire different sort of branch of death metal. You've got like the sort of, I always call it the hardcore kids doing death metal sort of stuff that comes out where it's it's groovy but still brutal. You've got your people really inspired by the Floridian 90s death metal coming out that have captured that old school sort of sound. What do you think's like sort of propelled the rise of it? What do you think has made people go, oh wait, death metal's cool again, and they've gone back into it?
Oh, I don't really know. Also really hard question.
Yeah, I know we've had quite a few people get stumped with it, because it's like, it's a pretty loaded question.
But maybe it is like I don't like. First there was death metal, and then like black metal came and totally took it over, because death metal got a little bit, at least in Sweden, black metal got a little bit too commercialized at that time. Now it's very commercialized, but at that time it's like people didn't really, they wanted it to be underground, but it was like in like the cooler music, MTV and stuff like that. That's where I found death metal from the beginning. Part of it where I found it. But I remember talking to some older friends that I know, and they said like, no, death metal is like everywhere. And then death metal came. Death metal was like underground stuff, but the music then was like, they didn't have Pro Tools. They didn't have, or any other, DAW to manipulate the music. If you were really good at cutting, tape, you could do a retake and stuff like that. But the music was, you were trying so hard. The guys that were playing, they were trying so hard to make it sound, because they had to play it right to make it sound right. Now you can play a beat and then edit it. Okay, it sounds perfect. And perfect for me is not music. If it's supposed to be played, if it's digital music, like a lot of music is, you don't really care. It could be, everything could be quantized 100%. I don't care, because that's not the point of that music. But for me, like I come from like a lot of punkish death metal, punk and death metal, and I think maybe people appreciates that now, instead of everything sounds perfect. They have this flaws that makes it more human. Even though, for example, the new Bloodbath, it's supposed to, the idea of the sound and idea of everything is like more sound, but updated into 2022, because it can't sound like more sound did then. Even though it sounds killer, you have to be updated with the sounds, but still you have the vibe and everything going on, and like access drumming is like off the wall,
Oh yeah.
But it's not, it's not quantized. It's not 100%. It's not correct if you put it that way. But it's correct for death metal. Maybe it's a long fucking answer here, but maybe it has something to do with that. Maybe people are just tired of quantized fucking music, and they want to hear death metal brutal again and stuff like that. And death metal is supposed to be brutal, and when you leave it like that, a little bit untouched and unpolished, it gets really, really brutal. I think maybe that has something to do with it, that it comes back. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely agree, because I think there's something about like, if it's too perfect, it doesn't sound human, and I think it's harder to connect with it, because like, there's a reason why when you humanize drums, when you're programming it, you purposely put a little bit like of like random bits there. You make sure the velocity is not 100%, because no one can ever. Yeah. But it's just one of those things where it's like, even doing that, programming drums and everything like that, still doesn't sound like 100% human. Like there's a song that me and my mate used to listen to. I can't remember the name of it, but my mate once pointed out that at the beginning you could hear the drummer drop his drumstick and just scream "fuck," and it sounds so ridiculous that it sounds like a sample, and it's so faint, but you can literally just hear him go, "Oh fuck," and then start playing. But it makes it sound better, because it's like, it's more human that way. It's like,
sure.
Even leaving that in, it's just like, it's got a nice little edge to that.
It's I get it. It's hard to fake that stuff, I like I like hearing when there's a fill going on where you can hear like the drummer hits the rim of the tom.
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff, and it's very often you really can't hear that stuff, and nowadays you have all these like YouTube drummers who play like 100% perfect on everything. They're really great at playing, but where's the like
showmanship and like personality?
The showmanship
player,
and the like the I don't know, the musicality of it. I'm not sure if musicality is like playing 100% right, or if it's playing with heart. Play with your heart.
I think the imperfections of death metal is what made it perfect. Like it was never meant to sound like 100% perfection, but the people listen to it, like that's what made it so brutal, and that's what made it so great to listen to. So I think you're right when bands are now like thinking about what made death metal amazing in the first place, and then trying to apply that now.
Yeah. I think that's my main. When I hear stuff, like when you said that there's a lot of new death metal acts coming out, they don't play like perfect death metal. They play like brutal death. A lot of bands play like brutal death metal, and they gory and whatever. It's greasy and gory and all of that stuff.
Oh yeah, like I think one of my favorite albums at the moment is Tribal Gaze. Like we got the pleasure of like getting Quinton on last week, and that album it's such a good album where it's like it stands so on its own. It's not like what I feel like for a while a lot of death metal was sort of like a product of its time. It's timeless. When you listen to that 90s stuff, it's timeless. It's still as brutal now as it was then, but
indeed,
like a lot of these new bands coming out are also making music to that level where I feel like in the last few years it hasn't really been there. There's a few obviously standout bands that have, have nailed it each time, but there's a lot of people then kind of copycatted those bands, and it kind of got not stale, but you knew what you were going to expect, and now we're just getting this great wave of people going, oh well, I was a fan of this back in the day. I just decided to make that. And I think this is just a great motion of people going, oh, I'm making music I want to hear. I don't really care about what anyone else thinks. And it's great and refreshing to see.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I totally agree. I think
it leads nicely as well into obviously, so Bloodbath is a band, you've been around for so long. You've got members coming across from you've got you from Lick, you've got like Nick Holmes, who's also in Paradise Lost, Martin from OPF. Like it's like a big super group, like an Avengers type death metal. And I think that's why it's always been one of my absolute favorites. Why do you think Bloodbath has managed to stay relevant with the times for so long? I mean, to me, I think it's because every time you get new members, you adopt a new style or like a new thing comes into it. That always keeps the band fresh. Like, even some of the younger bands, when the Survival of the Sickest came out, it was like, yeah, this is how it's done, how to do it right. So why do you think that, Bloodbath has managed to keep up for that long and still be one of the greats?
Oh, I'm not sure, but I think it's because of, I would say, the key members, which is Jonas and Anders. They're so much into death metal, and they know everything about death metal, and then every little detail and everything. There's these two guys. They like reek death metal. It's even though they're into they play other kinds of perhaps, for example, they play in Catatonia, which is not very death metal, but still Catatonia. If you listen to how they sometimes write the riffs, it's very death metal if you think about it. But these two guys, they are so much death metal, and they know exactly how they want death metal to be played. And I think that is one of the main reasons for Bloodbath's, success. I can't really, when Mike was in the band, Mike is also very, very much into old death metal. old death metal,
Yeah.
And also when they have Peter Tatyan from Hypocrisy, he's also very much death metal. So yeah, Martin Axe also very much death metal. Dan Svane also very much death metal. So I guess
It's like the Avengers, isn't it, of death metal?
Yeah, the Avengers. So these guys are fucking, super humans when it comes to liking death metal. Yeah. I think that's the main reason, because they love death metal and they know exactly what they want and how they want it to sound. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like, I think having that passion is so important.
Yeah,
like
sure.
for the genre. Like,
yeah, sure.
Passion, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, because like me and my friend James, we've been trying to get like this little Death Doom thing going for like ages.
Cool.
And it's like it's becoming like a passion project for like both of us, because I was like, we used to just chat shit about death metal all the time, like to the point where I was like, fuck it, I've had this idea for ages. Do you want to do the drumming for it? And he was like, told him the full thing, and he was there like, yeah, that's great. And then we were talking about what bands like we want, like we're like, oh yeah, and like he's so knowledgeable about death metal, and like he literally lives and breathes it. That he could go name like a 90s death metal album, and he could probably tell you if the vocalist stubbed his toe whilst walking into the studio that day. Like, that's how much he like just breathes it. So it's always so important to be surrounded by people like that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
It's when you do a riff, you have the Morbid Angel riff, you have the Dismember riff, you have the riff with Morgoth downstrokes. It's very hard, all those stuff. When you know how it is making music, I guess. But
yeah, it's great having just people around you that care just as much as you, because I think like that's easily the most, because I think there's nothing worse than being involved in a band where you have someone like, I care about this like 80%, like most of the time, someone that cares about 50%, someone that cares 25. If you're not all like 100%, nothing's ever going to get done.
No, I mean, yes, that's exactly how it is. You have to be totally consumed by me. For me, it's like always music. Whatever, I listen to a lot of different styles of music, but if you do something, you do it 100%, or you don't do it.
Definitely. I think like it's just that drive is so important, and I think it's hard to find people that have it. I think there's a lot of people that will go, oh yeah, I want to be in a band, but then when it gets down to it, they're like, oh shit, I don't actually want to be in a band. I've met so many people like that where it's like, you can tell even when you're in like a practice room with them, where they're like, yeah, this was a bad idea, I just don't know how to tell you that. But yeah, it's just so important to have passion in there. I want to get into as well, like how you joined Bloodbath. Obviously you mentioned that you had a few live shows. Did it sort of start off like that? Did you have like any already existing relationship with you guys before you started doing live shows?
Because the reason, I guess, why I'm here is because of Niklas Sandin, who plays the bass in Catatonia. I've known him for like 20 years or so, and when Catatonia needed a second guitar player, I joined them for live in like I don't know, 2 or 3 years or something like that. It wasn't much going on. They were writing a new album and stuff like that. So, but I just played guitar with them live and stuff like that. And then I quit doing that. And when Sodomizer Per Eriksson, when he decided to do something else, I think they had three live shows, 3 festivals that they asked me if I could just play. They just I think I got a mail or text. I think I got a text from Anders saying, "Hey, do you want to do some Bloodbath gigs?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not? Could be fun." And that's how it is, And then back and forth with between the studies and stuff like that. But yeah, it's nothing,
What do you think was one of the biggest challenges when you first joined?
Oh, the soloing. I don't really like playing solo guitar. But you have to. Also, in other bands I played, when a song needs, you need a solo here. The song needed. So I have been playing solos before, strange stuff and all that kind of stuff, but I was never. I'm not like this. The solo master is like I think he's a great guitar player. So I'm nothing like him in that sense. I'm more of the rhythm guitar player that has to play solo. but I think I put it off. But that was the main issue, and I was talking a lot about that with Anders. He said, "Yeah, but just do you do the if there's a solo with a main part that you recognize, do that. Try to focus on that part and then do what the hell you want otherwise."
Do you feel like more comfortable with it now then, after the album's dropped? You feel like more comfortable doing them now then, after being in Bloodbath and, releasing the album?
Not really.
Or is it still like...
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like not... I don't feel like there's a single, sort of lead guitarist that does solos that's still like, yeah, I'm comfortable with this. I think everyone's sort of like, sometimes I'm like, I don't know what to put in.
All these solos on the album, I don't even, it was me playing guitar and Jonas and Anders were sitting next to me, and we were like figuring out, and I was like, I can do something like that. Okay, cool. We start like this, and then, okay, now do a dive bomb, and then Slayer and stuff like that. So it's like I can't even remember any of the solos played on the album. It's
Oh yeah, I feel like I feel like the solo is a very such a slept on sort of thing to throw in there now. Like I feel like we don't get a lot of guitar solos.
Yeah,
but the ones that we do get are amazing. I was saying to Brad, like last year we had sort of a rise of more solos being put into metal songs again. I was like, honestly, I'm so happy for it, because I've missed it, because it just adds such a nice little depth to because when you've got a brutal breakdown, if it's followed up by a solo, it just makes the next bit even heavier.
Oh yeah, sure.
The previous bit heavier, and just makes that solo sound even better.
That's cool.
Especially dive bombs. Dive bombs are honestly.
I never played the whammy bar before, really. I had this old Ibanez RG, but I didn't like changing the strings on the Floyd Rose, so I just sold it. And now I have to play whammy bar again. But yeah, it's fun.
I've been trying to convince one of the guitarists in my band to get something with Floyd Rose for the longest time. I'm like, come on, guys, we need dive bombs. And
then, you know how hard it is to change the strings?
Oh yeah. Like I've tried in the past, because I've tried learning guitar in the past, and I think for my first ever guitar, I mistakenly bought something with a Floyd Rose, thinking that looks cool, and then whenever a fucking string would snap, that'd be me done. Because I'm like, I can't do it. This is gonna take so much time, because it's like you get one string that's in tune or a little bit, and then you go, okay, well, let's have the next string. And then suddenly it's out of tune, and then you have to redo it all. It's like, what's the fucking point?
I don't know how to deal with it, but yeah.
Honestly, I've been trying to convince him for ages, because there's been so many songs where we've been writing, going, that needs a dive bomb. No, we don't have a Floyd Rose. I'm like, I don't care. It needs a dive bomb.
So I'll ask about you then. So obviously we talked about Bloodbath and the music, but what do you get up to in your spare time? What are your hobbies and interests?
My hobbies are working. No, but I do work. I like to play video games and also make music. Yeah.
What are you playing at the moment?
Sorry? Video games.
Playing?
I play Zelda on this one. It's
Is that Breath of the Wild? You play him?
Yeah.
Great
And
game.
I also do Call of Duty on the PlayStation 5 with my friends. The Warzone thingy. Where
I love that.
Diving in Battle Royale thingy.
Oh
yeah, we've been playing
absolutely
Overwatch. We've been playing Overwatch, me, Nathan, and a couple of friends, because the new ones just dropped. So we've just all been like in a group, just smashing it for like the last 5 days.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah,
would recommend.
It sparked my my addiction. Like I used to have when I was like a lot younger. I used to be always on it. It brings me back to like being in college again. I'd go back home after every day at college and just smash it out. And then Brad's like, "Oh, do you want to come on Overwatch too? It's free to play now." And I re-downloaded it. It's just sparked something in me again. So I can't get off of it at the moment.
Yeah, it's very hard to, not to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to be fair, like Overwatch is almost like being in a band, because you've got like all your friends and you're only as strong as your team. So like if one member lets you down, it's all just gone. We have a couple of friends who we can name that definitely let the team down occasionally, but so yeah, we've got one last question for you.
Sure.
So obviously it's Halloween season, so it'd be a bit silly not to ask you something that's related and also relating to zombies. So what 3 items would you take in a zombie apocalypse if you could only take 3? Can be personal items, can be useful items. What you take into the zombie inferno?
Into zombie inferno, I would do I have to a question here, am I surrounded by zombies already, or am I like in am I shielded away from the zombies, or am I really into the
it's more like a post-apocalyptic sort of thing. So you're not exactly surrounded by zombies, but you're in that sort of world. So you might come across zombies. So it could be items that you think could be useful to kill them, or it can be like items that you would personally take as personal items for yourself.
Oh shit. Okay. Oh, do they have internet here?
That's wishful thinking.
Yeah, that's great actually. Then I would bring my computer to make music, and I might bring something to hit zombies with, not shoot them because I would run out of ammo. So maybe like spiked baseball bat. Do I have electricity or do I not?
A little bit of electricity.
Little bit. So maybe not the computer. Fuck the computer. Okay, the spiked baseball bat. This is strange. And water. I like drinking water, so I would bring that. I bring the computer anyway. I like it.
Take your guitar, then you can play it and put some spikes on it, use it as a weapon and play it at the same time.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, very practical.
I guess it's durable enough, like a baseball bat with spikes. Yeah, it could be, so we could hold on when bashing zombie brains in. Yeah.
Give it a little dive bomb after as well.
Yeah. I guess not. Like bringing a guitar would be too much. It could be too heavy sometimes. And if you have to, run away somewhere, guitar would be too problematic if I had to. But if I had my space in a zombie apocalypse, I would have everything that I have now.
Yeah, I was just thinking that with especially with a guitar, because you ideally want something with a bit of heft, but like light enough to not like. You'd need something like a Jackson. You don't want to be running around with like a Les Paul.
No.
Because that's going to tire you out.
Yeah. Hey,
absolutely. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, thank you. So it was great.
Big fans of Bloodbath, big fans of Lick as well. So I think you've added a great addition to the band, and I'm actually very proud of the monster riffs you've created in that album. So honestly, wish you the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's been great having you on. Like Brad said, we've been fans of Bloodbath for a while. This was one of the interviews that we were looking forward to the most. Recently we've gotten quite a few interviews that we've been really excited for. So it's been like probably the best month, and this was like one of the ones that we had lined up. We were like, oh, can't wait for that one. So
cool.
yeah,
And here I am, all like, can you even see me?
Oh yeah, we can see it.
It's atmospheric, you know, adds to it. But yeah,
Cool.
if you haven't listened to Survival of the Sickest, then go listen to it because it's fucking amazing. So whoever's watching, listen now. And yeah, thank you so much, and wish you the best this year. Hope to see you soon in the UK.
Yeah, it'll be great. Have a good one.
You too.
Take care, man.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.